You know what I'm saying? After the money gets old, which now that I think about it, money never gets old, but you know what I'm trying to say. So just make Welcome to Debt Free in IT. I'm your host, Mike. This podcast is for anyone who's looking to get into the IT industry, whether it's for a career change or you're just interested. I think you come to the right place. This episode is for you if you're trying to break into IT from another industry, or if you're already in IT and you're trying to pivot. So let's talk about when it's time to hit the reset button and change your job or change your career. So let's get to it. So the first thing I want to look at is, why do we choose to change careers or pivot from our current positions? So the first two things that stand out like a sore thumb is basically, usually it comes down to money or lack of growth. So a lot of times for me, and for instance, it came down to money when I first left from computer operations and went to help desk. It came to money because one of the things was around that time, I've been in that position for a while. So, I'm trying to ball out. I'm young, so I'm younger, so I'm trying to ball out. So I goes out and buy myself a brand new Chevrolet Camaro around the time. So, I'm like, I can afford it. I'm here, I've been working here so many years. Little did I know I really couldn't afford that car. So I went out, got this Chevrolet Camaro, and then basically when those monthly payments started coming in, I quickly realized that I wasn't making enough money to support my current lifestyle and also still pay for that car. So my reason was, at the time, the very first reason was lack of money. So I knew quickly then that I needed to eventually move up and make some more money. So that was one of the reasons I ended up going to that help desk position. And then the other reason, lack of growth. So lack of growth, sometimes you see this in certain positions. Let's say if someone works in networking and let's say the highest tier in that networking department is a senior engineer. So basically someone works there, they build their way up to a senior engineer. And then the next role up would technically be, okay, are you trying to go in management, or, you're trying to go in some kind of admin position or whatever. So, but let's say there's no role higher than that senior role. So this person may end up getting burnt out or getting bored in their position, because after a couple of years, it's pretty much just routine now. You're not learning nothing new, unless your company is bringing on new technologies, then sometimes that's a reason to stay. But let's say if you're not learning nothing new, you're already at the senior level. This is where I start to see people start looking out, going elsewhere. So if you're in one of those positions, one avenue would be, is a lot of people start going to MSPs from that position. So if you're in networking and you make it up to that senior level, okay, now your next thing may be to actually go for a position at one of the companies that maybe you utilize or you reach out to for help in your current position. So let's say if you're a senior network engineer, then your next step may end up going to Cisco, or may end up going to another managed service company, to where you're the one that's providing help to other companies then. So you're on the opposite side of the other end of the stick, per se. So you're the one that companies reach out to and you support them now, to where before you was in-house at this certain position and you supported everyone in-house. So that may be a reason for some people to leave. A lot of times, like I said, if there's no room for growth and you reach that ceiling, then folks start looking elsewhere. So one of the next things I want to talk about is some of the barriers you may face when trying to transition into another role, or maybe trying to transition into IT in general. So some of the main barriers we can think about is, a lot of times we often have that fear of starting over. So a lot of times, if you've been in that current position for years, for me, I'm in my 40s now. So it's like, okay, I done been doing this for years now. So there's starting over is a fear, because, I'm already, mid-age. So that's something that I have to think about, this fear of starting over. And then also you have where you may have a skills gap. So basically, skills gap is maybe you don't know anything about IT. You don't know, you're not a technological person. You mainly use your computer to just surf the web. So this is where, we have that skills gap. So some things to think about that may help you out, or some things to prepare for before making this transition or before making this jump So some of the things to prepare for, something that can help you out is, one thing I always recommend is, a lot of times, since, like I said, you may be starting over if you're transitioning to IT. One thing I often tell people to be ready for is that short-term pay cut. Because let's say you're at top pay in your current position and you start learning IT. A lot of times when you transition into IT, a lot of times you're not going to transition already up there at the top. You're going to transition probably at the bottom, somewhere entry level, which means most of the time, depending on your area, it could be a pay cut for you. So basically, like I said, you're taking that step back in order to take those 2 or 3 steps up. So you're going to be prepared for this pay cut. That could mean while you're in your current position, putting back some funds. That way, by the time you get ready, you already got a good nest egg built up. And then after we tackle getting ready for that pay cut, if that happens, the next thing you could do is, the cover the skills gap is basically start learning some skills while you're at your current position. So this could mean taking some online classes at your local community college. So taking those classes, this could mean doing some self-study. A lot of times your employer may offer some kind of resource that has some IT videos or something like that in it to where you can use it for free. So this could be, like I said, taking those courses at a community college, or maybe online doing some self-study. So you could sign up for CBT Nuggets, Udemy. There's plenty of them out there. Find one that you like and just start looking at the videos. And if it has labs, start going along with those labs. And slowly but surely, it'll start to catch on for you. You'll start to pick it up. This way, you're building up those skills before you get ready to make that career change. So this is where, like I said, we're going to cover that skills gap. Then if you're someone that's already in IT and you're just looking to pivot out of your current position into a better position, or maybe start moving up the ladder, one of the smartest moves I've seen to help you do this is basically talking to the manager at the position that you're trying to get to. So a lot of times, if you're already in the IT department, a lot of times you probably already know who that manager is. So to put yourself on their radar, basically you can contact that manager and let them know that you're interested in becoming a part of their team. This is where that manager can tell you what requirements he has. So if he say, okay, in order to get hired, we look for our employees or our team members to have this certification, or they may say you need to have this certification within 6 months after you get hired to this position. But basically, this manager will be able to give you all the requirements that he's looking for, and then you can take those requirements and start working towards them. So while you're at your current job, you can maybe start studying for someone. If it's another certification you need to get, you start studying for those certifications while you're doing your current role. But a lot of times, this is one of the smartest plays I've seen that you can do, especially if you're already in the IT industry and you're already in the IT department and you're looking to pivot. A lot of times you probably done became pretty close, or you probably have at least some kind of friendship, or maybe that of, or y'all had some kind of communications with that manager. So reaching out to them, letting them know that you're interested, certainly puts you on their radar. And then when a position comes open, they may go ahead and reach out to you before they post that position to see if you're interested. So I've seen a lot of good things come from just reaching out to different managers, letting them know that you're interested in becoming a part of their team. And then let's say that you're not able to communicate to the manager for some reason. So another way I think that can help you pivot to another position is, of course, going for the certification of that position. So let's say if it's a sysadmin role and you know that they use VMware products, then maybe going to get that VMware certification could help you to move into that position. Let's say if it's a networking position, then you definitely know that they're probably looking for someone with a CCNA or higher. So definitely studying for those certifications and getting it, I think would definitely help you out. If you're going the security route, then getting that security plus may be what helps you to pivot into another position. So a lot of times the certifications at this point, when you're already in there, a lot of times those matter, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, sometimes it can help you transition to something totally new. And so this could be a good way to pivot if you're already in an IT department and you're just looking to totally just switch gears. Where, like for me, for instance, I'm mainly networking. Networking, that's basically the gist of my career. That's all I know besides that desktop, help desk, which those are kind of general IT positions. So my specialization was basically networking. So for me, if I want to pivot outside of networking, one of the first things I'm doing is whatever I'm trying to pivot to, whether that's security, AWS, Linux, or whatever, I'm going to start working towards that certification, because I know that certification for me right now is basically going to get my skill set up enough to where I would feel comfortable going into a position using whatever that certification was for. So like I said, if it's Linux, I'm going to work towards that. If it's security, I'm going to work towards that. If it's a cloud certification, I'm going to start working towards that. I want to get comfortable with whatever product I'm trying to get a position in. So like I said, this is something that could help you pivot and change up your job role if you're already within the industry and you're already on the IT team. And then another thing to think about is those soft skills. So soft skills means a lot. A lot of people don't think about the soft skills, but being able to work with a team, being able to communicate, and being dependable goes a long way. A lot of times this probably will take you further than probably your technical skills, because a lot of times, like I said, if you got good soft skills, you're able to communicate, you're able to work with a team, a lot of times you can be taught the technical part. So soft skills may get you in places where your technical skills can't get you. So I always think about that when you're trying to pivot from one career to another career. And also if you're just trying to move from within careers. So if you're trying to move from one IT role to another IT role, a lot of times that person or that manager, one of the things they're going to think about, okay, when I had to work with this person, how was that experience? Was they easy to work with? Was they dependable? If we supposed to got on a call at 10 o'clock at night, what did they make that call? Was they, just overall, was it a good experience? Quick pause. I'd like to introduce you to the Log Files. The Log Files is a weekly newsletter to help you start your IT career with practical advice and tips, powered by yours truly. We launched it in the beginning of the year. It's packed with actionable advice, resources, and insights to kickstart your IT journey. The link is in the description as well as pinned in the comments, so don't miss out. Now back to the episode. So now that we covered why people would want to change up careers or why people would want to pivot from a position they're already doing in the industry to another position, the next thing I want to look at is some of the common pitfalls. So some of the common pitfalls is underestimating how long it may take. This is definitely one of the common pitfalls, because if you're not in the industry right now, you're trying to break into the industry. One of the things is thinking that, okay, I'm going to get this within a couple of weeks. That's usually not the case. So a lot of times it will take time. So it's not something that you can say, okay, I'm ready to switch from careers and totally. So I'm ready to get into the IT industry. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that you have to put time into it. You basically have to build it brick by brick. By brick, I'm pretty much talking about you're going to have to go out and put in the labor. You got to go out, put in the work. You got to go out, start studying for this stuff, start reading about it, start getting a good understanding of it, and then get up to where you're comfortable enough to start reaching out for different positions. And then that job hunt by itself is usually takes some time. So like I said, it took me a couple of years to get in. On average, I've seen people get in soon as they walk across the stage. I've seen people it take 3 years. I've seen people it take 1 year. I've seen people it take 6 months. I've seen people it take 3 months. So just underestimating how long it would take will definitely it's definitely one of the common pitfalls, because like I said, there's kind of no time limit to it. So it's one of the things I often say is you got to just keep applying. You got to just keep going for it. When you're not hearing nothing back, if you really want to get into this industry, when you're not hearing anything back, you're still studying, you're still keeping your skill set up. Often you hear me say all the time, you need to stay ready, so you ain't got to get ready, because a lot of times when they do call, it's all of a sudden. It's something that you didn't know, you didn't even have planned. So stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. And then another thing, another common pitfall is you often hear me talk about is stopping and starting. Stopping and starting. You know what I'm saying? When you starting for something, you're saying, okay, I want to make this change. I want to make this pivot into the IT industry. So basically start studying for something, then you stop it for a couple of months. Then something happened at your current job, you get frustrated, you start back studying for a little bit. Then the current job gets pretty cool, you ease off the studying. So next thing you know, you looked up 3 years done passed by, and you might have been saying, man, I want to get into the IT industry. You know, so starting and stopping is definitely a common pitfall that I see a lot. And then the next thing is making money the only motivator. So, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, like I said, we all love money. I love money. You know, we all love to have more money. You know what I'm saying? But usually in most cases, if that's the only motivator, then when you get into it, a lot of times you might get burnt out quick. Now, if you have a plan where you say, I'm going to get in here, make as much money for a couple of years, then I'm out, that might work out depending on the different jobs that you get. But usually if you're not totally not interested in anything tech and you're going for it just because you heard it makes pretty decent money, when you start learning it, a lot of times it's going to be boring to you. So you might not keep up with it to finish off that said plan. So like I said, when money is the only motivator, like I said, it's good to have money. It's good to make as much money as possible. You know, it's something that we all would love to have. But a lot of times when it comes to tech, make sure that you genuinely have an interest in whatever you're doing. That way, you know what I'm saying, after the money gets old, which now that I think about it, money never gets old. But, you know what I'm trying to say. So just make sure that money isn't the only motivator here. So a lot of times you need something else that's going to motivate you. And now it could be something that ties to money. You could be, okay, making more money is going to help me to provide better for my family. Then, you know, that's something that could keep you motivated, you know, and also hopefully you still got a little bit of love for whatever you're trying to do. Then that way, you know, you can stick at it for a while. So it's just, you got to have your different motivators and things like that to move you up to the next level and to help you transition over smoothly and to help you out within your career. So the next thing I want to talk about is the mindset and sacrifices. So basically sacrifice is going to be a part of this process. So if you're trying to transition into IT, like I said, you need to start studying for it. That could be taking classes. Along with those classes, you're going to pretty much have labs and things like that. So the sacrifice comes in where on the evenings, instead of you just coming home lounging, you may be working on some labs. On the weekends, instead of you going out partying, you know, if you're still in that age range where you're partying, you know, you may have to spend a weekend studying. You know, you may end up spending a couple weekends studying. The weekends may actually be the only time you have available to study. So this, like I said, that sacrifice it's gonna sacrifice for a short term, but like I said, it's going to help you out in the long run. So like I said, sacrifice is all part of the process. So now that we covered some of the things you may encounter when trying to make this transition, or when trying to switch careers, or maybe trying to move up from the IT department to maybe another position within IT. So now that we talked about that, the next thing I want to give you is a little bit of actionable tips. Some things I would do if I was trying to switch up positions, some things I've done before. So one of the first things I'd like to do is, like I said, research the different job roles out there. So you want to see what employers are asking for. So this could be, if I know I'm going to a networking position, this could be me searching on different job boards, Indeed, LinkedIn, things like that, looking up networking positions just to kind of get an overall gist of what employers are looking for. So basically looking at seeing what certifications they're looking for. So I'm looking for, okay, if I see for most networking positions, they're asking for a CCNA, then this could help you out with, okay, the first step, because now I'm going to start studying towards this CCNA because I want to get in networking. Or let's see, I start looking up security positions and I see Security Plus is what a lot of employers are looking for. So then this could be, okay, I need to start studying for this certification. So basically, you know, after going through accepting everything that we may encounter, different roadblocks, different hurdles we may encounter when trying to make this transition, like I said, coming up with a good plan. And the first thing with any plan is always doing your research. And then while doing that research, the next thing after you get the different positions that you've researched and you see what the employers are asking for, what certifications they're asking for, start to go from those requirements and kind of build you a roadmap. So I see that for this position is mainly asking for, let's say, a CCNA, and then also it's asking for this amount of experience. So I can take that and start to formulate me some sort of roadmap to where, okay, I need to study for the CCNA. Okay, how do I get the CCNA? Okay, am I going to do self-study, or am I going to do enrollment somewhere? So I'm going to start looking around. A lot of community colleges offer CCNA courses. A lot of four-year colleges offer CCNA courses. A lot of training facilities offer CCNA courses. And then a lot of other online places offer CCNA courses. So I'm going to decide on which one of those I'm going to take, which route I'm going to go. Once I get that material, I'm going to stick with it until I finish it. I'm going to see it through. So then, like I said, I done went through, did research on the different job titles. And like I said, remember the different job titles you have. Usually that first role is, if you're going to a networking or a security or a system administration, that first role may be technician. Then after that, the next role may be an analyst or administrator. Then after that, you have an engineer. And then after that, that's where you have your senior engineer. And then sometimes they may go even higher to an architect. But basically, I'm going to start researching those entry-level positions, that technician and also that analyst and that administrator, seeing what they're asking for, then build my roadmap that I'm going to use to earn those, whatever they're asking for in that description, or earn that certification, following that roadmap. And then at the end, one thing that I'm also going to do is start networking. And I don't mean networking as in Cisco right now. So I'm going to start networking, because a lot of times I've seen in this industry, it's not what you know, sometimes it's who you know. So I'm going to start networking, and by networking, this could be as easily as going out to different tech meetups. So in most towns, most of the time, there's someone in tech doing a meetup somewhere. Usually you can look on the app Meetup and see what kind of tech meetups are available. Start going to those meetups, just talking and meeting folks. A lot of times you never know who you're meeting. You never know who you're talking to. A lot of times you could be talking to someone that's already in the industry or already in a position at a good company, and they like your vibe. They may take down your information and say, hey, whenever you get ready to apply, reach out to me or add me on LinkedIn. That way, when you get ready to apply, you can let them know and they can put in a good word for you. So like I said, after going through this, like I said, researching those jobs, building your roadmap, and then start networking. And the best part, when you commit to it, the rewards usually come faster than what you expect. Well, that brings me to the end of this episode. Hopefully you found some value in this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, you can follow me at DebtFreeinIT. If you have any questions, you can email me at debtfreeinit@gmail.com, or you can visit me at debtfreeinitwithmike.com. Other than that, I'll see you next week. Peace.